Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review would be Godzilla Kong, The New Empire. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. So for the last 2 months, we've been seeing, if you are into the whole Kong versus Godzilla series, for the last 2 months or so, probably before then, we've been seeing tons of trailers of this new movie, and all the trailers look good. And the trailers was so good that people who has been paying attention was starting to believe, are we seeing the whole movie through these trailers? And then you got some people that, if you get deeper and watch different videos out there, some people already have the whole plot on everything that's supposed to happen in the movie. So I don't know if, I mean, they did great promotion, but did they show too much promotion promoting different trailers and everything? So let's just get into the movie. So let's go over the quick cast. It's only a few. You got Rebecca Hall as Eileen Andrews, Brian Tyree Henry plays as Bernie, and Dan Stephen plays as Trapper, and you have Kaylee Hotto plays as Gia, Fala Chen plays as Ivy Queen, and that's pretty much it that you got to get into. Everybody else is just in there for the most part. So this starts off with Kong and his habitat down in Hollow Earth, and pretty much he doesn't have no family. He's down there, and you have uh, Eileen, who's she cut her hair, and she has Gia up into the Monarch School. Gia's not really fitting in too well, and so it's an ongoing thing with that. Gia has she's connected to the Hollow Earth, so she has visions, and she blanks out, and then she starts drawing stuff that they can't connect with. So that's what's going on with Gia and Eileen. Meanwhile, they're keeping track of Godzilla, um, and they're keeping track of Kong in their space or whatever. So Kong is still traveling the Hollow Earth and seeing what's out there on his end. Meanwhile, Godzilla, if there is a Titan that appears, Godzilla goes and take care of him because he's protecting the surface area or whatever. So what ended up happening one of the times that they set up cameras and things in Hollow Earth, and one of the cameras got crushed. Now they would like it to believe it was Kong, but it wasn't. So they didn't pay attention. So with Gia getting these visions, Eileen pretty much remembered some things about with the monarch in their studies. So she went and tracked some readings that they had, and it was the shape of like three pyramids. So she went and said she needs to go grab somebody that will believe her and know more about it. And she went to go holler at Bernie. So Bernie was still in his place, and what happened is he helped save the world when Godzilla versus Kong, but nobody believed him because he didn't have no footage on nothing or anything like that. So she came to see him. He was kind of disappointed that he didn't have anything to back his story, but he lost a lot of followers in the process. So he pretty much she asked for his help, and he said only if she allows him to go to Hollow Earth so he gets some footage and everything like that. So she eventually agreed, and she took him with her back to the Monarch Station. Meanwhile, they're getting ready to go down because they're sensing something, reading something. They wonder why Godzilla was all of a sudden showing up to different places. And of course, when he shows up, he's creating damage, knocking over buildings. But he always has a purpose too, because he's sensing something. So eventually, I can't think of what somebody probably mentioned in the comments. What Titan? It's like Titus or something. One of them Titans has a like a violet glow. Now, of course, we know Godzilla already had the blue glow within him, but one of the Titans got like a violet glow. That's what we're seeing when we see uh, or pinkish glow, whatever you want to call it. Um, what we see on the trailers. And so one of the Titans have that. And so what Godzilla does, and he goes and defeat that Titan. And once he kills that Titan, he takes over his energy, and that's how he gets that glow. But when he does do that, um, Godzilla ends up in the Arctic and just freezes underneath the water. That's pretty much the bulk of him. Of course, it's different moments that you've seen leading up to that moment of Godzilla, but that's the bulk of it. More of it's Kong on Hollow Earth and the storyline with Gia and Eileen and bringing Bernie. So they go into Hollow Earth. But before they did that, what happened with Kong? He was fighting, and while he was fighting, his tooth he got a bad tooth, so he's in pain. So he knows to go into the surface area to. That's one of the things that alarmed Godzilla when Kong showed up on the surface area. But Kong showed up because he's in pain, and he showed him his tooth was cracked. So in walks Trapper, and he's like energetic guy. He has the Ace Ventura. They even make reference to it on there. He got the Ace Ventura look with the with the party dude shirt, and he pretty much goes down. He's fearless, goes down and helps Kong and snatches Kong's tooth out. And what they did in replace of it's one of Kong's canine teeth. They install like a titanium type tooth in replace of the one that he lost. So when Kong felt better, he jumped up and then went back down to Hollow Earth. Now, when he went back down to Hollow Earth, they followed him down there because they want to see what's going on, why these sensors is going off. When he enters back in there, Kong pretty much goes about his way. They go about theirs. So when Kong goes about his way, he sees a shadow figure, and we see the little ape that everybody's been seeing, Soku. And when he sees that little ape lures him. So we also see the trailer where Kong pretty much like trying to befriend him, like he's cool, but then so cool pretty much bit him. When he bit him, he ran, and Kong followed him. And when he followed him, the rest of these apes try to attack Kong. Of course, Kong beat them all up, and even when he was Gary hit one off a cliff, Kong grabbed him to show that, hey, I'm not here to war with you. You my people. But as soon as he pulled him up, the ape pretty much took the knife that he had and tried to stab Kong. And at that moment, Kong just kicked him off the cliff. He was furious. One of the apes tried to run. Kong hit him in the head with a rock, but he still was able to get up and run. Meanwhile, Soku was furious at Kong, and Kong pretty much was telling him like, "Show me where you come from." And Soku was showing him, but this is their building relationship moment on their way for Soku to show him where he comes from. Um, he lured Kong into the act like he was drinking water, and when Kong was in the water, like a titan, not a titan, like a sea creature came and tried to kill Kong, pulled him in the water, and it looked like Kong was, of course, dying. And Kong is used to beating things like that, so of course Kong beat him and threw the piece of the creature at Soku, and Soku thought he was getting away, and Kong showed up. And then, it was a moment where Soku ain't eat, and then Kong tried to feed him some, and Soku was like, no, and Kong just threw the food at him. So there was their building relationship. Eventually, what takes place is they make it to the area where we see the trailer where the rest of the apes are, and um, you can see who's the workers and then the people who are overseeing the workers. And one of the workers was tired and old, and he got hit down to the ground. Nobody would help him. Kong came in and helped him. And then what took place is the rest of the crew that was watching, they seen this big, strong ape. He could be their savior. Meanwhile, in walks the Scar King. So this is where we see the Scar King and in the trailers and Kong first meet up. And of course, the Scar King is like a orangutan type ape, and he got a whip that's what basically shaped with bones, and he's using that to fight. Of course, Kong has his axe, and they fight, and then he thinks he's getting the best of Kong, and then Kong flips him over and then bested him. And the rest of his henchmen was Gary jump in, and he told him no. Meanwhile, what he did, he signaled his. Uh, he has a knife-shaped blue crystal that he summons Shimo, and this is the. I forgot what it is. Look, it's a sheep. That's what it is. It's a sheep, and he signaled that sheep. It's in chains, and Shimo kind of got. I mean, if you get deep into the whole, go down the rabbit hole and watch a bunch of different videos. You get the backstory on Shimo. Shimo pretty much uh had froze when we seen the earlier Kong Godzilla movies, and we seen a couple of those Titans that was frozen. Shimo picked those Titans. They froze them. And what happened was Scar King wants to rule the world, and he found out this crystal can pretty much control Shimu. And if he could control Shimu and keep Shimu on a leash, he could control Shimu to use the freezing powers to freeze everything. So that's what took place. He pulled out the blue crystal, looks like a knife, and signaled Shimu to freeze Kong. And at first Shimu didn't want to, but then once the Scar King like really signaled for it, it puts pain on Shimu, and when it puts pain on Shimu, Shimu reacts from pain and shoots out the ice. Like Godzilla shoots out the fire, it shoots out the ice, and it kind of freezes. Kong had the axe blocking it, but then of course it over freezes and then freezes to his hand, and so at that much he's damaged. Now he has to run away. Soku signals him, "Hey, you get out this way," and then that's what he did. And then he was running from the henchmen of the Scar King, and of course, Kong had set little traps up throughout where he was traveling to, and it was helping slow them down. Eventually, they cornered him where he would have to climb up, and of course, he only has one arm, so he can't really climb up, and so he did have this. If they tripped this line, it would stumble all these rocks on him, and he couldn't get to it because one of the henchmen looked and showed him that, hey, we tripped this line, something's gonna happen. All of a sudden, the rocks came down. Soku pretty much hit the rocks to come down on them, and seeing that Kong was hurt, and so when he was hurt, he wouldn't help them. Meanwhile, all this is going on. You have the storyline with Eileen and Gia and Bernie and Trapper. So they're one guy that was supposed to be like their security. He got ate up by a plant. But then what they're doing is they're walking in this area, and they're seeing that it could have been like a habitat down there. It could have been some people that like a human living force down there. So they start following different things, and then they make it to this, this old building. They go inside of it, and they see the Mothra. Of course, that's the butterfly titan. They see the Mothra like emblem. And so when they go in there, these people show up, and so they made the people look like Gia. So it's her people. So they take her to the queen, I think her Iwi queen, and of course she embraced Gia, And so they pretty much know Gia special because she has a connection to Martha, and she got a connection when she put her hands in the queen's hands. What took place is that the queen could see everything that she experienced. So she knew exactly who she was. So the queen took all of them to their like history chamber, that where Eileen was able to read the hieroglyphics and see everything that took place. So she knew the backstory with Scar King getting Shimu and everything like that. And so what happened from there is they heard a calling, and it pretty much was Kong. They opened this passageway that opened up and allowed Kong, a wounded Kong, come in with Suku, and one of the henchmen seen him go inside this area. So that henchman went back to the Scar King to let him know. Meanwhile, Kong is, if you've seen the trailer where it shows Kong is exhausted and just passed out for a second, Gia comes over top of him and he gets the strength to touch her hand with his finger, and they could see that Trapper went down, checked his arm, pretty much said it was damaged, had the frostbite burns. And so they pretty much said they've been working on something for Kong for some time, and they said when they seen him getting defeated by Godzilla, because of course Godzilla has powers that he doesn't have, they thought they would help him out, even the playing field. So they pretty much built him a Kong gauntlet that gets electrified, and he could use his strike force is stronger with electricity. So they had already sent the prototype down in Hollow Earth. So Trapper flew out to go get this device, and Kong was pretty much dazed still, and they got the gauntlet on his arm, and it shot like adrenaline in him, and he pretty much sparked up. He was suit, and when he zooted up, that's what you see on the trailer with him putting his gauntlet arm in the air, and Gia pretty much told him that he can't do this alone. He's gonna have to get help. So he knew he had to go up to the surface world and go see Godzilla. Now he's really going to go see Godzilla for help. Now, meanwhile, what happened is uh, Gia and the Queen, they took Gia, and with Gia goes and does and wakes up Mothra to tell Mothra what's going on or whatever, and tell her that they need Godzilla to help fight Shimu and a Scar King. And we all know Martha got a special connection with Godzilla. So what's happening also, Scar King has released Shimu from the chains, and now he's headed to where Kong went in. He's ready for war. He's riding on Shimu. Now, meanwhile, when Godzilla and Kong meet, it's pretty much only like 18 minutes left in the movie at this point. So the movie's about an hour and 48 minutes, somewhere around there. So this is like 18 minutes left. So the screen time for Godzilla and Kong is only like about 18 minutes. So when they finally meet up and Godzilla know Kong is on the surface, Godzilla takes off from wherever he was and heads to where Kong is. And of course, we know it's portals, different portals Godzilla could surf through. That's how he gets to certain areas fast. So Kong is just waiting for him. When Godzilla shows up, that's where we see Kong is pretty much signaling him like, "I need you to go down there. I need you to go down there." And Godzilla, of course, he ain't trying to hear that, and he rushed Kong. But only this time, where we were seeing Kong get his behind whoop, he's able to fight better because he has that gauntlet on his arm, and he kind of beat the mess out of Godzilla for a moment there, and then Godzilla was knocked out for a second, and Kong picked Godzilla up and was just dragging him and Gary take him into Hollow Earth, but he wasn't paying attention that Godzilla was charging up, and now he's supercharged with that other glow, the pink glow, and so he started to release that charge on Kong, and Kong had to release him and ran off. And so when the dust and Kong couldn't see, Godzilla pretty much came out of nowhere, knocked him down, stood over top of him with, where he got the paw on Kong's chest, and then was Gary fire up. Right when he was Gary fire up, Mothra came, hit Godzilla to let him know chill, and then they got their special connection to let uh, Godzilla know like, hey, what's going on, and you need to help Kong. He's not coming up here to fight you. He's coming up here to get your help. And so Godzilla calmed down, and they both headed to Hollow Earth into the portal. And when they went in the portal, it showed Gia was on Mothra too, and they showed up with that moment. So it showed. That's where you see the trailer shows Godzilla running, and then Kong jumps on him. Meanwhile, you see Scar King on top of Shimu, and they all both running against each other. And so while this is happening, Hollow Earth and the other Earth is merging together. So it's like a space moment going on, and everybody's floating while they're fighting. You got Soku fighting the henchman for um, the Scar King, and everybody's battling. Eventually, all end up going through another portal back onto the surface. And when they went through the portal, Kong didn't get to his axe. So they're fighting the whole time, and you get to see Godzilla and Shimu fighting each other, and of course Kong and Scar King fighting each other, and Kong knocks out um, Scar King tooth. And why that was significant when we seen that on the trailer is when Scar King met Kong for the first time. He looked at Kong's canine and seen that he had a replacement tooth, and pretty much like mocked him in front of the rest of the people. Now we seeing this time his tooth get knocked out. So that was the significance of that. But the battle went on, and eventually what happened is uh, it showed moments where Kong and Godzilla was teaming up, battling the Scar King or battling Shimu at different moments when Shimu might have been about to spread the ice, and then one to help the other one out. So it was a good. This whole scene is a good fight scene for all four main characters in the film. And what happens is Soku seen Kong's axe when he was stuck in a portal, and Kong didn't get it. So Soku grabbed the axe and went through the portal himself. And when he came on the surface, it was a moment where the Scar King, that long chain with the um, blue knife that charges up Shimu, was on the ground, and Kong and Scar King was fighting for it. And so that thing charges Shimu up, because it was moments that Shimu didn't want to do or fight or use the power to fight Godzilla or anything like that. But then Scar King will keep pressing the issue and force him. So when Soku came down with the axe, he crushed the blue crystal shaped like a knife that controls Shimu power. When that happened, Shimu was now broken from his trance and was his normal self. And when what took place, Shimu then, on his own guidance, froze the Scar King. And when he froze the Scar King, Kong picked him up in the air, threw him on the ground, and crushed him and broke him in pieces and everything like that. So that was pretty much the end of the movie. Everybody went back into their realm. You had Kong and Siku go down back into Hollow Earth along with the rest of the ape tribe, and Shimu was there with him, but only now Shimu is free to move however Shimu wants to move. Meanwhile, even though Gia got her people, Eileen thought, she would want to stay down there with her people, but she didn't want to. She pretty much was like, that's her people, and she'd come visit them, but her place is with Eileen. So that was that, and uh, what's his name? Bernie got his story, and Godzilla went back into his habitat. End of the movie, real decent movie. I think they might have shown too much in the trailers, but I guess they used that to promote it. And you're probably thinking, well, which more to see? It's just the little parts that I just mentioned in the review that you can, that fill in the holes. But pretty much you've seen the majority of the movie in the trailers, even though it was still a good movie. Good anticipation. It didn't disappoint. Out of my 4-star rating system, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 4 stars. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Till next time.